Right along now, you can bet the local business owners they will be watching very closely Thursday if President Obama's health care law, if it is ruled unconstitutional. As I said, we spoke with some local businesses who call it bad for business. Lindsay Veramis has more.
After 33 years in business, countless cold cuts, and the ups and downs of the Michigan economy, Britton Slocum never imagined his future would rest with the Supreme Court.
That it's going to cost me over $250,000 a year to implement this program, and I don't know where I come up with $360,000 a year. I don't have that many customers a year.
Slocum wants to open 2 new stores this year, but that would put Jersey Giant subs over the 50-employee mark. Under the Affordable Care Act, any business with a crew of 50 or more must offer health insurance by 2014.
It crushes not just our dreams, it kills us. It's like putting a dagger through the heart of small business.
Most Jersey Giant workers are part-time, but the law is based on the equivalent of full-time, meaning 2 part-time sandwich makers equal 1 full-timer.
I'm hoping to grow, but I can't grow. My biggest fear is, where do I come up with that money to pay for this if that should pass?
He says he'll be forced to increase prices, make a $7 sub $10.
If the Supreme Court strikes this down, millions and millions of Americans are going to be hurt as a result.
Democrats believe long-term the law is beneficial for business.
This bill drives the health care costs down and the deficit down.
If it stands, employers that don't comply will face penalties. Some, like manufacturer James Barnard, plan to drop coverage because the fine is more affordable.
We've just seen costs increase, every year. We still want to offer coverage.
But he says business in Michigan isn't easy. He needs to make a profit and hopes the Supreme Court sees his point. In Lansing, Lindsay Veramis, Fox 47 News.
Now, there are several options the Supreme Court could follow. It could allow the Affordable Care Act to stand as it is. Portions of it, they could be struck down, like the individual mandate, which requires Americans to purchase premiums, or it could scrap the whole law altogether. Shannon Bream on how the White House and Congress are preparing for the fallout.
As the country awaits what is certain to be a landmark opinion from the Supreme Court, the decision now rests with the 9 justices who will decide whether the individual mandate at the heart of the law, which will require Americans to buy health insurance or pay a penalty, is constitutional. During the March oral arguments, Justice Elena Kagan responded to assertions that the mandate represents an unconstitutional overreach by Congress in its attempts to regulate commerce.
The aggregate of all these uninsured people are increasing the normal family premium, Congress says, by $1,000 a year. Those people are in commerce.
The man many view as the swing vote, Justice Anthony Kennedy, appeared to grapple with the long-term implications.
Here the government is saying that the federal government has a duty to tell the individual citizen that it must act, and that is different from what we have in previous cases. Well, that changes the relationship of the federal government to the individual in a very fundamental way.
If the mandate goes, the court will have the task of figuring out which parts do survive. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said a precise salvage job would be the more conservative way to go versus a, quote, wrecking operation, though Justice Antonin Scalia sounded doubtful that could be possible.
When have we ever really struck down what was the main purpose of the act and left the rest in effect?
Regardless of the outcome, both the law's supporters and opponents have been preparing for the fallout. Senior White House advisor David Plouffe, while maintaining the law's constitutionality, acknowledges that contingency plans have been mapped out. Capitol Hill Democrats say they're strategizing as well.
One way or the other, I think on the Democratic side, we're prepared to build on the landmark health reform to make sure more and more we have affordable, quality health care for all Americans.
House Speaker John Boehner has warned Republicans not to, quote, spike the ball should the court's opinion go in their favor. And if it doesn't?
If the court does not strike down the entire law, the House will move to repeal what's left of it. Obamacare is driving up the cost of health care and making it harder for small businesses to hire new workers. Our focus has been the economy, and it will continue to be the economy.
The court must also resolve a Medicaid claim brought by 26 states. They argue they cannot afford to take on the millions of new Medicaid participants that would flow onto their rolls because of the health care law. In Washington, Shannon Bream, Fox News.